Hi everyone, my name's Susan Day and I'm presenting for Bill Ballou's forum today. Our topic is Twitter for authors and entrepreneurs. There's been some changes to Twitter, particularly this year. Some of them we're going to go into in detail, others we're just going to touch on. This is a relatively simple, I suppose, approach to using Twitter, but I'd be really interested in getting your feedback. Personally, I find Twitter to be extremely useful. I have made so many connections and met some really interesting people, including the world famous Bill Ballou, who sent me a direct message and said, jump onto my forum. And I did, and the rest, as they say, is history. So let's get started, and thank you for joining. If you're listening to the recording, it's really great that you've made the time to do that. So here we go, here we are. So I just have to cover the basics just in case some people are not too familiar with Twitter and what to do. It's pretty easy. You open an account. If you can use the word author or writer in your handle is the bit that comes after the little @ symbol. That'd be really good. It's just for searchable, and also for entrepreneurs, you might want to use a topic or a subject in your handle as well as your name. Mine, for example, is Susan Day Author. As you can imagine, Susan Day is a particularly popular name. So I chose author as opposed to writer many years ago. So that's what I've been sort of stuck with. But that served me well. Upload a snazzy pic of your books in your banner, or something that just basically immediately jumps out at people and it gives them that visual cue about what you're up to and what you're about. Use a clear image of your lovely smiling face. Unless you write horror, then you can look a bit angry. But that's what people connect with. And they've done lots of tests with this, and we talked about this with Facebook as well, that profile pictures that for businesses that have a full-on or a slightly turned face, I'm moving my head around a little bit, get a lot more notice, and they get more likes and followers. So it's always something to keep in mind. I know I do understand some people are a bit camera shy, but you're really looking at gaining trust in these sorts of circumstances, and that's one of the best ways to do it. Keep your profile simple. Now, one thing that really bugs me is the way people use their profile for advertising. This is what these are some of the recommendations that I've researched and found out about, but also some of them are anecdotal. Again, you may disagree. Great, if you do, please let me know. I'll be interested in getting your responses. So what I found out, I guess, is that don't sell or put links to your books on Amazon on your profile. Don't ask someone to join another social media platform. I get these a lot. I get direct messages saying, meet me on Instagram, meet me on Facebook. And I'm like, no, I'm on Twitter now. It's like meeting someone at a coffee shop and then going, oh, look, let's walk 3 times around the block and go to another one. I don't want to. I'm here on Twitter. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to engage there and then on the spot. Don't say you won an award if you haven't. That's another thing that's really another gripe, I guess. And don't bang on about how great you are, and don't overdo hashtags. They are good, and we're going to cover them a little bit later on, but they can distract from what, you can list off a series of things, hashtag this, hashtag that, and it doesn't really give a lot of detail. It just gives glimpses, and in particular, it makes people have to double think. Hashtag Kindle Amazon, hashtag entrepreneurs. Just say, make your profile personal, make it funny. My favourites are the really funny ones, the really personal ones where they give a tiny glimpse, a tiny insight into the person's character and their personality. Make it sound like you're a human being because you are. Even if you run a great big corporation, you're still a human being, and that's what people want and that's what they connect with. So they're the basics. Let's keep going. Like I said, any questions, just leap in. As of the end of 2016, there are 319 million Twitter users. It's probably quite a few more. They were the sort of the official numbers. There are guesstimates that this has gone up quite a bit. But still, if we just focus on those 319 million people, that's a lot. That's a lot, isn't it? You can have 2 Twitter accounts, and some people have more because you can each time you log on to Twitter, you just need a different email. So that may not be 319 individual people. I have 2, for example, but I find it extremely difficult to manage them both. So one is clearly leading the other at the moment. So of that 319 million Twitter users, there are 2 types of people you need to attract. One, obviously, the readers who are going to be interested in buying your books, or the people who are interested in building and what you're building and what you're producing as if you're an entrepreneur. The other group of people are the people who share your tweets and your posts. Now, these are the real key people that you need to concentrate on. And particularly if you're just starting out, I think. So you need to set up your account. You need to make sure your posts are all shareable, all interesting and all informative. So let's keep going. Now, pretty soon, I think it was November the 7th. We are now November the 15th in some parts of the world, and November the 16th in other parts like mine. But yes, on November the 7th, Twitter announced that it was going to up the character usage from 140 to 280 characters. So this means you can write longer posts. But my question is, do they need to be any longer? One thing I hated when I started on Twitter was having to cut down my tweets and shape my posts and learn how to make it shorter and sharper. And what a blessing that was. I mean, I don't know if you remember, and I can't remember when it was, but when Facebook lengthened the posts, they just go, they just reprint their entire paragraphs of their lives. Do you read them? I don't. Unless it's really pertinent to me, I don't read them. I'll give them a quick skim read. If it's somebody I like and somebody I want to support, I might like it, might like the Facebook post. But on the whole, I don't think you need to write stuff, particularly on Twitter. Facebook is the platform, much more personal platform for people to vent, people to share what they've had for dinner, share their family photos. Twitter is much more business orientated. And I think you need to keep those posts short. I mean, it gives you a little bit of breathing space if you've got an extra long URL. And, of course, your images, when you add your images in, that takes up some of your characters. It uses them up, I should say. So it does give us a little bit of breathing space, but I think short and simple is certainly the best approach. If you disagree, that's cool. Just let me know. That would be good. But I think if advertisements are deliberately kept short and sweet on the television, and there's no reason why we shouldn't use that approach as well. So the other change for Twitter is direct messages can no longer be automated. So if you need to contact somebody, you need to do it manually. Now this I was very disappointed with this because I've used automated direct messaging for about 2 years now. I have done it with my guest blog posts. Now, if you haven't caught up with that, you can see on getonlinefast.net. My goal in January is to write 100 guest posts for the year. I think I peaked that mark at October, and I'm currently about 112, I think. But yeah, I used to go and I used to have a direct message that used to say, oh, well, I'd like to write for you for free. And it had a little bit more detail in it than that. But it was great. And that's pretty much how I managed to outreach to so many different websites and so many different bloggers. And interestingly too, I've got regular postings from that. But if you do direct message people, like I mentioned earlier, don't ask them to meet you on another social media platform. I don't know, just think it through. Don't ask them to buy your book. Don't offer them a free chapter even. And because everyone knows that there's a catch. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm an author, and I've just published my first non-fiction book. I have a whole host of fiction and children's books that I've written and published, and I'm involved with review groups, and I also like to read for pleasure. I don't really need to have anyone add any more to my reading list. So I'm not interested, and I think it would be fair to say that most people are not interested in reading even just a sample chapter. Instead, contact people, simply contact them. I did an experiment at the end of last year, and I asked people if they had one wish for the new year, what would it be? And people were incredibly receptive. They were honest. Some people thought that there was a catch, and I was like, nope, I just wanted to know if you had one wish for 2017, what would it be? Some were really moving, and others were, most were really moving. Some were a little bit sort of self-centered, but on the whole, people were very generous. And some people even said, oh, my wish is for my dad to recover from cancer. What's yours? And it really opened up a dialogue, and it was really, really interesting. So you don't have to use the direct message to sell and bother people. It's tiresome. And maybe I'm just getting old and grumpy, but yeah, try to use your imagination. Use it to tell them, to enhance their lives. Use it to give them a funny quote. Tell them a joke. One of the best ones I think I've only had twice since I've been involved with Twitter is, somebody actually said, I've got a joke for you. It's like standing in a queue. And then I think that's probably the best approach. If you were standing in a queue at Starbucks or at the supermarket and you caught eyes with someone, you locked eyes with the person in front of you, what would you say to them? Would you whip out your book and say, you want to buy it? Probably not. So, yes, you'd start a conversation. You might make a joke about something. You might go, the prices of bread today or something like that. But you'd start with a human or common approach. And I think that's something we all need to do when we're on social media, and in particular, Twitter. Okay. So I'm going to keep going, rolling along. So what not to tweet once you're up there and going. I've written these down: politics, racist material, sexist material, anything that might offend any member of society. Unless politics, your book is about politics, but even then I think you want to be careful. Twitter have really cracked down on all the unwanted pornography that's been involved, and the bullying, the cyberbullying, of course, and the trolls that are on, which is really good. I don't know if they've actually managed to eradicate it completely. If I find someone I don't like, I just simply block and ban them, and I report them. And I think everybody should do that. I think that's part of the deal. But you don't know who you're going to offend. That's what I'm trying to say. And you don't also know who could really help you in some respects. I have large accounts, and there's lots of people on Bill's Forum that have much larger accounts than I do. And of those people, every one of them has an outreach of a certain number of people. And so you don't need to kowtow, you don't need to be politically correct, but you also need to know that this is a public space where people come to, they don't need to be threatened. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But do tweet your journey, and in particular, all those great articles you have on your blog and your presentations you've made or any media appearances that you're in. Now, whether you automate your tweets or not, I guess, is up to you. If you want people to share your tweets, you need to provide really good, relevant information. There are people who will share your tweet about your product or your book, and usually that's reciprocated. Obviously, you do a similar thing yourself, and you should share theirs as well. That also can actually become a little bit tiresome, and trying to catch up and trying to run around and make sure that you've shared everybody else's things. So that's something you may or may not want to participate in. However, you should really consider doing that. And, you know, if you've got a really great blog with lots and lots of content, you should have it automated to flick through to Facebook and Twitter at least. And if your image-based product like fashion, books, then have it going through to Instagram and Pinterest as well. You need to provide things that people will share. If you're not sure, go and have a look to see what your competitors, what other authors in your genre are tweeting, and, you know, see what you can pick up, see what you can learn and experiment. So just a quick advice, and this sort of stuff's all over the thing. Quickly, the do's and don'ts are hashtags. Hashtags are great for following a discussion or an event and seeing what people are saying about it. I know in Australia we have some really, really good top current affair programs, and if I've missed one and I'd be particularly interested, I'll go to Twitter and I'll follow the hashtags and what people have said as they were watching it, or even what the presenters have said even after the program. Hashtags are a great way to follow famous people, I guess, or follow a trend or an issue. However, I'm not a great fan of using them to promote my tweets and my blog posts. I think, again, they can look confusing. There are regulations about using only 3, and for that reason, because they can be a little bit distracting, and, you know, you've got such a small time frame to grab somebody's attention. You don't want to sort of put them off by hashtag book, hashtag Kindle, hashtag this, hashtag that. You know, you may have adding a great image in really helps, but you've got to have the quality. You've got to have informative, entertaining, even educational quality that somebody else is going to want to share and explore. Now, of my 2 big websites, one with the 1,300 posts and the other one, particularly the puppy website that has now over 900 articles on it, that it's the 3rd most generated traffic comes from Twitter. And that's because I automate tweets from my blog posts to that. And they cover everything to do with dogs and dog training. So let's keep going. So I've just got the next couple of slides are just basically about some tips to help you. But like I said, you know, you're welcome to jump in and ask questions or even share your own experiences. So yeah, check your @replies, check your direct messages and your @replies, your notifications, and yeah, prompt. One thing that some authors do that really also I find really tiresome is they will use my handle to promote their books, and they'll basically say, you know, go and buy my book, and they'll have my handle there @SusanDayAuthor, which means that my 44,000 followers will see it. Okay, so it's sort of like a bit cheeky, I suppose. It's like setting up a stall outside, you know, Target, and saying, oh, look what I've got, and selling the same things they're selling. I just tend to ignore them. But do check that. Check your notifications and to see what people have shared and do that. So again, it says the next point is tweet your blog posts. You can use a variety of headlines. You can test which ones work and which ones don't. And Twitter offers great analytics as well, so it's really worth familiarising yourself with those. Link your other social media accounts so that anything you post on them goes into your Twitter feed. For the things that you really want to get at, you can. They say you tweet 5 times daily and space them out. Again, if you've been on Twitter for a while, your analytics will show when and where your audiences are picking it up and what time of the day. So that's obviously the times that you need to speak to them and make sure the tweets are there. there's loads of people that tweet more than 5 times a day, and I think that's one of those discussions that we can have as well. If you're running a contest on Facebook or anything, or an event or anything else, again, make sure that it goes through to Twitter, and also share your e-newsletter on Twitter and invite people to join it, or invite people to share it as well. So our next one is, if someone tweets a compliment to you, don't retweet it. Again, that's like shouting out and being boastful. I suppose it depends on where you want to focus, but you could thank them. I reply and thank them. But, I don't sort of necessarily go mad at retweeting compliments or praises that people have put in. Again, avoid racist and political tweets. You need to allocate your social media time, and this is something I don't think a lot of us do, and I know I'm, for one, quite guilty at this. But you really need to spend time on your Twitter account. You need to initiate these conversations, praise what other people are doing, even if it's, quirky and funny and different, and follow the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your time you should promote others, and 20% of your time you should be promoting yourself. And this includes your books and your blog posts or anything else that you're doing. This is basically, by being generous, people will share your work. So even though it states here that you're only going to be working 20% of your time to promote your own things, that the other 80% of the time you're promoting others, they'll be promoting your stuff as well. So it's not about diminishing your presence or sacrificing it even for others, because it all comes around and they'll share and they'll repeat and things like that. There are groups that will repeat and retweet your content for you as well. But again, you have to be participating. I personally find I don't like, I guess, when I see a Twitter account and all of their posts are either their own things and they're the same thing repeated 5 or 6 times a day, or they're just constantly sharing stuff too. And that can make it hard if you want to share their things. So there does need to be a balance. Again, the 80-20 rule is just a suggestion. You might find a different formula that works better for you. Always be gracious and thank people. Of course, tweet regular and retweet from a variety of sources. And again, we touched a little bit on author e-newsletters, and one of the things that I've been experimenting with is putting links to other bloggers' information and articles into my newsletters. So sure, they can read my things on my blog, but I also have this, while I was online, I found these articles that I think you might be of interest to. Because you need to provide lots of information, and you need to be seen to be sharing and being generous. Of course, always credit the source of the tweet if you found it. And again, that's just, if you're retweeting, that's already done for you. And be generous and humble. And I think, using Twitter is really about, that's the dog, using Twitter is really about helping others and creating a really great environment for sharing. So that comes to the end of my presentation. Nice and short and sweet. If you've got any other questions, please hop on to Bill's forum and ask away. Start a new thread. There's lots of people there that will help you. Some really, really good experts on Twitter as well. And you've seen that's my website there, gotonlinefast.net. So are there any questions before I close up? Okay, all right then. Well, thank you for everyone for dropping in and listening to the recording. I'll look forward to catching you all next time. Take care for now. Bye.